Hello, my name is Cynthia and welcome to my Flosstube channel. I'm happy to be here with you today. It's Thursday, October 14th, 2021. It's a gloomy day here in Fort Worth, so I was looking through the house to try to find a place where we would have okay lighting and you could see the things I have to show you today. It's only been about 10 days since we last visited, but I had a 2-month break, so I have lots of things I still wanted to share, and I have a video I recorded last week that shows all of the things that were in my fall tote, lots of previous finishes. So I wanted to tack that on to the end if you want to stick around and see that. But today I had a couple of finishes I wanted to show you. One that is in hospital after Dahlia had a little bit of a encounter with my little witch that I made. So I will show you a picture of her. But the others I have here, and I'll go ahead and get started there. I have been stitching through these seasonal witches by the Snowflower Diaries. I enjoy all of her designs, find her to be a very talented designer. She commented on my Instagram post of this, and I thought that was really flattering that she saw her little witch stitched up. It was, I think, almost 10 years ago that she posted it, but here's my little autumn witch. I've, like I said, done the spring one. There's a summer and a winter. And those are on my freebie Pinterest board. I'll link that again. If you had, a few people said they got a chance to check out Celeste and I's Pinterest board and enjoyed that. And this one was a quick stitch. She's not much bigger than 50 by 70, I think. And a little bit of a, what's the word? Lazy daisy stitch there. I made into a sunflower. And I did make her green. I think she's charted for flesh tones, but I always like a green witch because I'm such a Wizard of Oz fan. And it was just a bunch of threads I had on hand. It's calling for Nina's threads, which I believe are out of Italy, where the designer, I think her name is Maja. I'm not sure I'm saying that correctly, but she calls for Nina's threads and then a DMC conversion. So I just used some scrap threads I had around and made that. And she's going to be part of a little series that I'm making, so I wanted to get one more chart finished before I finish her completely, along with my little wool witch. My purple haired witch was completed, and not exactly my best work, but I learned some things, so that's always a good thing. Like I said, she did have an encounter with Dahlia yesterday, so I was going to bring her out here, but her hair has been chewed off, so I have to redo that. But I'll insert a picture here of what my little purple witch looked like before she met Dahlia. Don't fear though, her arms and legs are intact. She just lost her wool hair. I think there's something about that natural wool that is just irresistible to a coon hound. So it was on my top counter, my bar counter. I did not think Dahlia could reach to that countertop, but now I know that she can. So I have a plan in mind to stop the thieving coonhound in the house, but I'll tell you more about that later. My third, speaking of, she must have seen a visitor go by. This was my third finish, and one that I am so happy to have done. I had started this on May 2019 for Mania and not realized what an undertaking this series is. This is every bit as big as a Huckran Hollow block. So if you think, oh, these are quick, they're not very big, be ready. There's a lot of stitching, and that's what makes them so beautiful. There's a lot of details you can see in there. The Indian corn was really fun. The leaves, I used that thread I showed you last time by by threadworx. It's called Shanghai Nights, and it's a very interesting thread. My thought was, oh, it'll save me time on the leaves. I'm not sure it really did, because I ended up doing the bottom solid colored for the most part, but I kind of interspersed a few here and there, and it was a lot of fun. I also did the autumn lettering there in that, and I changed quite a few things. I said I just changed the barn, but as I was thinking about it, I changed the barn to Diaries Crimson, It's supposed to be kind of a brown color. I'll ask Helen if it's okay. I put a side-by-side picture of Helen and my finish of this. Helen changed some colors too, I think, but she did the barn and the rust. And I really like the way hers turned out. And she did a gray squirrel. Mine is orange. And I think she did the called for on the scarecrow's shirt. Mine is that teal. I like to intersperse the teal and the darker reds because it makes it tie in with my home better. And it still looks very classic Prairie Schooler. I know people don't like to change Prairie Schooler colors, but in this case, I am glad that I did. The Monaco is super thick. I've seen it in my Michaels all the time now. If you are looking for Monaco, I've seen it in there several times. I know it wasn't available for a long time. But alas, I just don't prefer stitching on it. It's what I learned on when I was first learning from Priscilla and Chelsea in 2018. But I am hoping to be done with this series and not stitch on Monaco anymore. So those were my 3 finishes. Let me get out the whips I worked on. There were just a couple, and then I will show you some fall patterns that I have as whips and a new start, and also a bunch of freebie patterns and fall patterns that you might not have seen. And then we'll tack on the Tote extravaganza. So let me get those together and I'll be right back. I've only worked on a couple of whips over the last 10 days, so I wanted to share those with you, but I have some other whips that are beautiful fall patterns that I will show you as well. Even though they haven't gotten a lot of work, I haven't shown them in a long time, so let me, or ever if you're new, let me show you an update on all creatures. This fabric is thick enough that it doesn't show through. It's funny, or not very much. This is mallow, 40 count. It's very inexpensive. I think it's only like maybe $12, $15 for a fat quarter. And it is not dyed at all. It's the way it comes. It's almost kind of like a natural looking linen. And I had worked more on the hill here. Mainly I've been working on leaves. I've been trying to pick up like 2 or 3 green threads a day. I did miss a few days of working on this, but I've made up the side here. I didn't have that done. I've finished the bottom green leaves. I still have some red ones to do. And I have filled in more of the animals. I had to stitch that ram twice because it would have been so much easier when I realized I made this mistake. I based it off the wrong point of the flower. It should have been down here instead of there. If I had pulled that out at the time I did it, it would have been so much easier. But trying to fudge has made it harder. So I think I finally got that ram kind of etched in. I did that yesterday. I started on the fish in that pond, and I'm just filling. I still have Adam and Eve, and then one more block over here. I was working on this house. I do believe I will stay up all night if I have to try to get this done in October. I just really want to finish on this. And I have other things I want to work on. So happy to be working on it. Love it still. Just lots of stitching, lots of details. So that's an update on All Creatures Great and Small by Barbara Anna. Many of you have said you want to work on that or you are working on it, and take your time with it. Don't feel frustrated. It's very big, but it is very doable. I would say the main thing, I had gotten a question how to approach that project. I would say the main thing is to get your framework in first. Do your border and do your lines and your middle wreath so that you can make sure, and even the hill, so that you can make sure everything's going to fit, because there are so many motifs crammed in there. I'm finding if I'm even 2 or 3 stitches off on some of them, you have to really fudge. So as long as your framework's in there, I think you'll have a really easy time with it and a lot of fun. Speaking of a lot of fun, this is a fun project as well. The Scary Berry I worked on Tuesday night with my Zoom girls for a little bit for some spooky stitching. This is by Erica Michaels, and I had it last year to start and didn't get to it, so I'm really happy to have it out again. I'm just using my Halloween pile of threads, which I don't see right now, but just some fall colors, and I pull from it black, green, gray, pumpkin colors. I haven't figured out exactly what I'm going to do the moon in yet, but probably just a DMC. So hope to have this one finished. It's not terribly big. If I work on it a couple more Tuesday nights, I might can have a good chance of that. So those are the main two projects other than my Prairie Schooler, getting that finished, that I worked on, but I wanted to show you a couple of whips that I've gotten a little bit into, and also just their beautiful patterns to share. So the first one, let me pull out Ghoultide Welcome by Plum Street. I will be changing this. I don't think I'm going to put the witch and the horse over here, and I don't think it's going to say Ghoultide. I think I'm going to take these pumpkins, move them over here, because I don't know why they're levitating in the air anyway on some kind of spaceship. And I'm going to put another bird over there, bird or two. So I'm excited to get to work on that. I am using NPIs. Just as I finish a thread, I'll buy another thread. I enjoy the experience of stitching with silk, so it's kind of just a seasonal treat. I'm only going to be working on this during the fall, so I can spread out the cost of those silks. And here's where I got to. I was starting to make the corner last night. I had to stitch this twice because I had miscounted. Oops, got a little bit of see-through there with the lights. But there is the color. It's kind of like a, it's not black, it's a 3371 kind of dark black brown. And those colors of the berries are kind of a bittersweet. They kind of look like little plungers. That's what Lisa Kindred Stitcher called them. But that's one of my favorite kind of borders to stitch. It's very even too. It's 6/9, 6/9, 6/9. So I enjoy that. The fabric I'm using, I found through Cindy C. Hi, Cindy. On Instagram. It's called Days Gone by Silkweaver. And I found it on Anita's Little Stitches. It must have been like a really old piece that she was just clearancing out, because I think I only had to pay $20 for it. And it does have quite a bit of almost tie-dye like effect, but I don't think that will be in the scene. I tried to place it to where the darkness is mostly what you get, or more of an even color. And if not, I can always dab over it with a little bit of walnut shell stain. I don't mind doing that at all. And it's not as big as I thought. This is the, I mean, there's a lot of stitching, don't get me wrong, but that's the width of it. So I've already turned both corners. I hope to get a good part of the border done this year, since I only have 3 threads. I have the green, the brown, and the bittersweet color. I just want to work the border as much as I can and maybe start some of that grass. So, and figure out what I'm going to put in there. I don't know if I'm going to say harvest welcome, or if you have any ideas on that, chime in the comments. That would be a good help. That is Ghoultide Welcome, and I am going to be working on that just a little bit. I don't think I'm going to get to this project, but it might pop up in my rotation sometime during the year, not even in fall, because I love this Carriage House fall gifts with a personalization I did. It's not a reproduction, so I am changing the name to be my great-grandmother's. I always try to think of, well, who has like a name with about that many letters? And instead of Hattie, I thought of Molly, my great-grandma. My grandma Helen's mother was born in Argentina. They were immigrating from Russia. They were Germans living there. And so I thought this would be a fun piece to commemorate her. She's a big part of why we stitch. She always had a needle in her hand, they said. And I have some of her work. My mom has a couple of embroidery pieces that she did framed. I think she did like lace crochet and things like that. But here's the 5 pumpkins. I've just got the start of the 5th one here. And I did have to do an NPI on one of the oranges. I just didn't like the DMCs that are called for, but the rest are DMC and Victoria Motto. And like I said, it's not huge, but it's a very dense little pockets of stitching. All of this is filled in, every single bit, so about the size of your hand. And I'm using this, I think it's 16 count Aida that I dyed myself to be kind of spooky. And I might put Argentina on there somewhere. There's not a spot for it, but I think it's kind of interesting that, there's that part that my grandmother was born, my great-grandmother was born in Argentina. And she stayed there till she was almost 12. I was looking at her obituary, and I thought she moved when she was a baby, but she stayed there a good part of her early life and then went to Colorado, where she met her first husband. And he died in the Spanish flu, and so did her children, except for one. So she had an interesting life. She lived a long time, though, had a long life, lots of kids. The other one I would love to work on, and I might put it back in the rotation throughout the year, as I said, because I think I would like to stitch on it any time of the year, is Feast of Friendship by Blackbird. I have made up my own threads, kind of just with Victorian motto and some that were my Aunt Ruth's, it looks like. I even have a, looks like a die-in for cross stitch, something I got online for the basket. So this will be fun to work with. I love the blue house. I don't have another piece that has a blue house like that, so that was what drew me to this piece. Here's the corner of the blue house. It's done in almost like a patchy kind of color way, so it was easy to sub out. I hand dyed this floss myself. I think it was like a bright royal and white variegated artiste thread from Hobby Lobby. My friend Tamara gave it to me, and I dunked it in charcoal, so it kind of toned it down. I like the variegation on that. And then the other one, I am using the blue corn that was called for. So hope to get some of this house done maybe in the next couple days if I have time. I'd like to stitch on that house because it makes me happy. So there's a Feast of Friendship along with Tide, and then Elizabeth Easton I had started in Mania as well. She's a sought after pattern. There was a time when the Etsy shop for Good Housewife was open and then it closed, and I'm not sure why, but I do have this promised to a friend. And after I finish Sally Spencer, which I did a little bit of work on, but not enough to show really, I'm going to move to Elizabeth Easton. I love the DMC colors. They're very pretty. Just lots of autumnal. This would be a nice one for overdyes though too. If you like a little more movement, I think that it's pretty either way. My friend Becky just finished this one on Socks for Mom. If you want to look at her Instagram, it's a good one. So those are my fall whips that I would love to be working on. I'm not sure I'm going to get to these last 2 or 3 that I showed you, but definitely the border on Tide I'll work on, and then the Scary Berry I hope to finally finish, and then it'll be on to Christmas. So let me show you one more piece that I started sort of as a memorial to my mom. I have 2 that I'm going to be stitching for her. This one I started first before I won the What Remains is Love piece, but this piece is by Lavender and Lace. I meant to show it to you last time and I forgot, but it's a piece I bought probably 2 or 3 years ago on eBay, hoping to stitch it for my mom because I love the idea of stitching older people. It's nice to have representation of all different ages, all different ethnicities, and this lady has some wrinkles on her face, and I think she's beautiful. I'm not intending to stitch the background here. There are some pearls that kind of swirl around. I will stitch those, but I dyed my fabric hopefully in a way that will mimic the kind of moody woods. It's not really brown like I wanted, but it's still very pretty. I have a very small start on her skirt. This is kind of where I've gotten to, and I'm using Krynic. You can see here, actually it's Petite Treasure Braid. I've changed all the colors. I spent some time at Silver Needle when I was in Tulsa going through and changing the purples that are called for. And the photo look to me similar to this. You can see there. But when you pull them, Marilyn, the designer, I think she's passed now, but she liked to use 5 shades of, every hue of a color. So she would have like very light, medium, dark, very dark, and it would just be a really nice tonal shift there between all 5 shades, and that is harder to do when you're making a conversion. So I'm taking my time on this. I'm not sure I've gotten it 100% the way I want, but I love the tones of it. I'm just going to work on it slowly, sometimes in the mornings, just as a way to think about my mom and remember. And I know she's not an angel. I know we don't turn into angels in the Bible, but I like to think of her like this. Someone that's still with me and watching over me. And I do stitch this in my Morgan stand. It's a punch needle product for me usually, but I like to have sort of a 2-handed stitching when I'm doing the Petite Treasure Braid. And I am doing that as I go because it's a really nice way to border. I wish you could see that sparkle. I think you can. I changed that too. It was supposed to be like more of an antique gold, and I like more like white golds. And I don't know if you can see that. And more of a platinum. So very fun and sparkly, and I keep it in this giant Vera bag that my friend Vicky gave me for my birthday this year, and it fills the whole bag, the project with that Morgan stand. I still have all these colors to go through that I've picked up. So like I said, that's going to take me a while, and I probably won't show you very often, but as I have updates, I will peek in and show you. And I also have some secret stitching I'm going to be doing for Christmas. My friend Kristen, I will be stitching for. We already know who's who, so I have to stitch a piece for Kristen, and then I have a ornament that I'm stitching for my guild. So I might have less to show you until the end of the year, but I have to have those projects done in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So that will be a focus as well. And then all creatures great and small. So those are kind of my plans and some of my fall whips, what I've been working on. Let me show you some patterns that are still on my wish list to do. A lot of them are just freebies, and a few from Punch Needle Primitive Stitcher magazine. And then I'll show you my Tote extravaganza and give you a quick life update at the end. Hang on just a second. Okay, I misplaced one little pattern. I might insert a picture of it here from Barbara Anna that I tore off of a larger pattern. It was just a little couple of jack-o'-lanterns and a cat, but I can't find it. It was just a scrap. So if I find it, I will insert that here. But the other ones I wanted to show you, I've shown you before, but just as a reminder, Melissa from Pinker and Pumpkin Quilting, I'll put her name here. It's hard to enunciate that. Makes beautiful salt box stitches, and my printer paper isn't great on this. I think it's a black house, and you can see the jack-o'-lanterns and the cat. I've always wanted to do this. It's still on my list to do. She also did an autumn version of that instead of Halloween. It's very similar, but it's just a pumpkin instead of a jack-o'-lantern, and I love that yellow house. So cute. I think I would have a yellow house if I could. I would paint my house yellow if I didn't live in the suburbs. This is another Pinterest freebie. It's on my board that I will link below. And I thought it looked like a Stacey Nash piece that is very similar, but it's an unknown freebie. I don't know who did it. It does say freebie somewhere, so I don't think it's a copyright issue, but it's a cute one. Just some jack-o'-lanterns in a kettle. This one is more Thanksgiving, which I don't have any Thanksgiving of, but I always would like to. This one is not terribly big either. It's for the primitive hare. I did 3 or 4 of her freebies last year. This one would be super easy and cute. Some pilgrims. I think it's just called Give Thanks by the Primitive Hare. And there's another freebie. Oh, Melissa also did a turkey on a yellow house. Maybe in November I'll have time if I get my secret stitching done. I think that is so cute. Love that turkey on top of the house. So that would make a cute little basket. I also have some, let's see, primitive punch needle primitive stitcher. This is fall 2019. I always wanted to do that witch. I have, like I said, a little witch trio. One of them is still coming in the mail. It's the Lizzie Kate. Yes, I can drive a stick. I always wanted that one. And I need to find a little broom to go with my witch. So that might fit in my witch project. And oh, Frankie, I don't have the If the Shoe Fits one. This one, show it all the way back here, is another one that my friend Frankie, Wicked Stepmother, sent me that I want to put in my witch little tiered tray or little arrangement. And then this is the Barbara Anna that kind of has a Thanksgiving-y feel to me. I might change those fruits to all pumpkins, different colors of pumpkins. But it's a quirky, weird bird, Autumn Bounty from, I think it's the same year. I only had the 2019 subscription to this magazine. So those are some fall patterns that are quick and small if you haven't seen them. And I, like I said, will link the Pinterest board where you can find those for free. I also wanted to update you. I am still leaving the giveaway for this bee skep open. I hadn't really specified when it was going to end, and I'm filming a little sooner than I usually do. So I didn't want to close that too soon. So many people are interested in this. I know. I found out there is not an Etsy shop where Carolina Stitcher is selling this. Her and her husband Peter is his name. I don't know why I couldn't read his name, but they are on Instagram and selling like hotcakes. So you can find Carolina Stitcher there and place an order if you'd like, or if you want to go to my last Flosstube, the one previous to this. I can't do a search that will include both videos. So I can't have you comment on this video to win this giveaway from Carolina Stitcher. But if you comment on the previous one and say B, then it will still be open until the next time I film, which will probably be next week. So you have until, well, I don't want to give a date because it's hard for me to do that, but until the next time I film, that's when I will choose the winner for the B-Skep scissor holder, and it is a handy thing to have. I'm so grateful that she sent that to me. Thank you so much. And I also had printed on the giveaway instructions, you have to be over 18, but I wanted to say it, and it is for US only. She will be shipping that out to you, so it's quite heavy. I wouldn't want her to have to pay to ship that internationally, and I will hopefully have an international giveaway again before the end of the year. But that's all I have to show today other than my Tote extravaganza. I think I'll come back on after that and do a quick life update about something I forgot to explain in my last video and I had a lot of questions about. So let me segue to the Tote extravaganza. This will be me last week, so I'll look a little different, and then I'll come back in the end and give you some closing thoughts. Thanks so much. Hello, my name is Cynthia, and I'm happy to be here with you today to share with you the contents of my fall and Halloween tote. As I promised in my last video, Stephanie from Lindy Stitches had invited us on Flosstube and Instagram, or wherever we share our needlework, to use the hashtag Tote extravaganza and share all of our previous finishes. So I have a whole bucket. Some of these things are more decor, things I've thrifted and upcycled, I call it, and most of it's stitching, some embroidery and things. So let me get started with some of these larger pieces, and this may be tucked at the back of a Flosstube video. We'll see how I can, how much time I have. But this was one of my first finishes, I think, 2019. I've only been stitching since 2018. And this was Little House Needleworks Autumn ABC. This kind of falling down here a little bit. I used this stand from Hobby Lobby. You've seen this before, so I won't take too long. And there are more details about changes I made, some of my own overdyed flosses that I used, and just kind of making this up as far as the colors I used. But this one is one of my favorites. It sits in my entryway behind me there. Another favorite, and this was my first big finish ever. And it was such a huge undertaking for a beginner. This hands-on design Priscilla Blaine collaboration is one of my favorite things. I've shown it before, I know, but it's been a while and I have a lot of new subscribers, so maybe you haven't seen it. This is Sunflower Manor. And I used 14 count black Aida. I didn't know how to stitch in hand. I think I used a hoop. And I changed some of the colors to have more red, those flowers in the door. My window panes aren't completely even. There's lots of mistakes, but overall you can't really tell. And I have the other 3 seasons to do, summer, winter, and then I was doing the Cottontail Farm. All of those are still whips. But it is a beautiful stitch. I never did do the top that says autumn, and I'm not sure I will. I keep saying I'm going to get around to it, but I'm not sure. And I love it on this turquoise shutter that I got from Tuesday Morning. I think I only paid $10 for it. Okay, the next piece is Boo Ba Bee by With a Needle in Hand, Brenda Gervais. And I dyed this even weave myself, I remember, and finished this last year after fall. It's a little late, but I have a hallway filled with fall finishes, so I just keep it up all year. And I do love the way it came out. My frame has this fillet inside that covers up some of the letters at the top, but I still like it. I'm okay with it. So there is Boo Bobby. It has felt flowers that you attach yourself. I never realized how many planes go over until I try to film. I live in the air landing strip of the Air Force Base across Fort Worth there, so sorry about that. This is a little soft finish that I made about 10 years ago. I guess I've been doing these a lot longer than I even realized. I made it as a baby toy for my son Elijah when he was born. It has a egg inside. If you take a plastic Easter egg and fill it with rice and then put tape around it, you can turn any little soft thing into a baby toy. So I love this little owl. He's kind of funky. I think he has a little bit of a dog chew on the edge here. He looks like he's had a little damage, but he comes out every fall. I made more. I made some for the girls too, but I'm not sure they survived. So that was a little fun primitive owl. I found that pattern on Pinterest for free, and it's still there. If you want to see it, let me know. This was another freebie from, I think it's Snowflower Diaries. She is one of my favorite designers, and I had a little bit of trouble with this one, making it even, but it turned out okay. It says autumn is here. You can see my threads from behind. This was my second cross stitch ever. Yeah, ever. And I keep it on this little stand from Hobby Lobby. I repainted it. I think it was like neon yellow. So don't overlook those little crazy colored pieces. You can always spray them out. And this was something I put other things on too, but mostly just this. So autumn is here. Oh, I like this one. This was another freebie. I do a lot of freebies apparently. Some other friends have done this. I saw Christy did it and Ginger after I showed it. The pumpkins and pins, I did not realize was over one. I heard Christy kind of saying that that was a lot more challenging than she had expected, and I was the same. It's so tiny, but I love it, and I love the finish that it turned out. I did some quilts, kind of like piecing, very beginner, and I dyed this corduroy on the back. I love that, with some Kansas Troubles fabric. It matches my shirt, my sweater, and then some Lady Dot ribbon, and I got that seam ribbon from Kitten Stitcher. And I always like to have a bell. Something about a bell makes me smile. This little girl, oh, sorry. This little girl makes me smile too. This is Matilda Hornbuckle from Not Forgotten Farm. I did this one last year on a piece of murky or a piece of my version of murky, my own spooky fabric with tan and black on Aida, and that little shoe is adorable. She looks kind of grim, but I used some of my own colors just to make up similar. And I think I changed this border because I did it on such a dark fabric. I think the model was on a light fabric, but I just have her in this little frame. I kind of scuffed up and painted. I might make her into a pillow eventually, but she kind of hangs on the wall for now. This one was an interesting finish. I have a magnet on the back of this, and I usually put it on a metal vase of sunflowers. It looks kind of like a flower. I've seen a lot of people stitch this Barbara Anna piece from Prim Stitcher Punch Needle magazine. Did I switch that order? Punch Needle Prim Stitcher, whichever. I think it was the 2019 issue for the fall, and it's called Sweeping the Garden by Barbara Anna. I love anything Barbara Anna. I dyed this fabric probably with charcoal and denim. That's one of my favorites. And I dyed this trim. It used to be white from Joann's, and no, I didn't dye the yellow, but I love the way that looked like a fall flower. Let's see what else is in here. Oh, I can't all reach everything. I have these berries that are kind of fall, kind of summer still. I put them out in summer, but I leave them out longer. I had done these for my mom as a gift, and then since my dad doesn't really care about decor or anything, I went ahead and took them home so they'd be nice and safe, wouldn't get thrown in a garage sale or something. And this is Erica Michaels Sunshine Berry. I did some over one stitching here, but I didn't do the the You Are My, excuse me. And I love the way the tops of these turned out. I made them nice and funky, like I like to do, with lace bits and hanging bells and rickrack. I cut those leaves out myself. I like them to be a little bit bigger. And then I use quilting fabric to make just a little display. I kept these, I think my mom kept these in a ceramic sunflower bowl, and I keep them in a tiered tray. So there's Erica Michaels berries. These are pretty funky. I'm still not sure how I feel about these. This is from an Etsy designer called Hickety Pickety. And I made this soft cat it looks pretty creepy and vintage, even more than it's supposed to. I had a little trouble with its face, but I like that it's kind of shiny. I sealed it with I think Mod Podge, so it's a little bit different. And then I went ahead and made these. They aren't on the pattern, but I wanted some like wands, and I have a skewer here wrapped in washi tape. I need a bigger wand, but this was some trim from XU Designs that I got from Teresa Kitten Stitcher last year, and so I wanted something to do with them, and they kind of made a fun display. There's a pumpkin too. I don't see it. Oh, it's lost its wand. I have it all in the tote, but this is the other one that I put in the little vase of Halloween things. I'm hopefully going to film a Halloween home tour. That's why I wanted to go ahead and get this section done. It'll maybe come a little later than I'm filming, but I needed to get all this stuff unpacked and put up. These are fun embroidery pillows. I don't remember if I did these I think I did these in 2020. They're called, let's see, Monster Pillows by Shirley Hudson's Holidays. I don't remember if that's the name of the pattern, but you can find it on Etsy. And this one was my favorite. There's a little witch with a button eye, kind of like Coraline, and she turned out really fun. I think I could do this embroidery better this year, but you know, that's how you learn. I would have used a stem stitch instead of that running stitch I did. But I like the satin star there, and here's a mummy. He's super cute too, with that pumpkin and that crazy eye. And here's the other one. Very vintage looking, looks like a vintage postcard. Got that one a little close, but I love that pennant. And I love the checks on the back with the felt. And I had one more. My mom had got me a beautiful embroidered tea towel she got, I think, at a garage sale or something. And I knew that my kids would mess it up, so I made it into a pillow here. It's gotten a little squished. There we go. It doesn't have as much filling, but I like that. And it has like a witch and lots of little details. So I think that made an appropriate pillow. I like to put fabric on the bottom so you don't have the design kind of squish under the lettering so you can read it better. And then I made a spider, a sparkly felt spider for the back of that one. So that makes a fun little display that I'm ready to get out, excited to get out. Oh, this is just a little cardboard cutout I got from Hobby Lobby. I like to intersperse things like that within your cross stitch. And oh, it looks like I have some bottle trees in here too. Some of these funky colored trees with a haunted village. That would be really cute. And here's another one from Pinterest. It's a freebie. And I had a hard time getting these to all line up. I don't know why. But this was I think, Stitcher Hood freebie. Just a pumpkin. And I stuffed this with rice. I like the way it feels at the bottom. It's real heavy. And it's just a cute little jack-o'-lantern with a little bow that I think that's put on with a paper clip. I mean, a safety pin. And just yellow on the back. So there's a boo pillow. That one was maybe 2 years ago. It looks like I have a bow. This is going to go on a tray for my third cross stitch piece, maybe fourth. This was by the drawn thread. And I had, probably should have used darker fabric, but it's still very cute. This is several specialty stitches that I did not know how to do, but the directions were very well explained. So it's a fun one, and it goes on a tray with a bow at the top. So I like to use that, trade that out. Here's a couple of pumpkins. This one I made about, you can kind of change them to smile a little better. I made about a dozen of these and had so much fun. You paint the muslin yourself and then stuff it with a stick at the top. There's a pattern by, I believe it's Prims by Denise on Etsy. And I think it's something Jack. So these are really cute. I love having those out. And this pumpkin, I also got from my mom. It was one we found at a boutique in North Richland Hills, not far from here. And it is a crazy quilt. I think it was probably an actually old quilt. Look at the pieces, and it's got silk. So it's kind of starting to rot, but I love this there's some beautiful embroidery on there. I think that's called, oh, I know the name, feather stitch. Some feather stitching. So I would love to try to make some more of these myself, but I'm happy to have this one, and I have a nice memory of getting that with my mom. And oh, there's the end of the wand for my pumpkin guy. I'm having a hard time keeping all these together. Here we go. This was what that little guy looked like, just a little wand. So needed some more glue. Another owl that I made from a Goodwill rescue, kind of a upcycle. This was, I think, daisies on here, and I wanted them to be sunflowers, so I overpainted those flowers with yellow and brown, and it's very 70s when I was a little girl. It's kind of a avocado green color, but I think it's groovy. I like it. I mean, it has a hanger, so this goes in my tier tray, and it looks really cute. My mom used to have a giant macrame owl. Do you remember those with the white fluffy tails that used to hang in the corner? That would have been around the same time as that, probably in the 70s. And then this is my little Lori Mitchell figurine. I had this in, I don't usually keep this in a tote, but I was unpacking my curio cabinet I keep upstairs that's lighted and glass. And so I just kind of carefully placed everything in a tote because I had overgrown my glass cabinet, which is funny because I had every season in there and it just, the door wouldn't even close. It was so full. So I thought, well, let's find a new solution for those little treasures. And so I've got a couple Lori Mitchells here and a Funko Pop. I don't see her tail, his tail. Is it he? Yeah, his tail is in there somewhere, but isn't he cute? I always find Lori Mitchell on eBay. It's getting harder. I think people are collecting her more, but I used to could find these for about $15, $20, and now they're $30, $40. So I don't have as many. I only have about 5. But he goes out on a little pedestal, and I love to decorate with black hats. And I think that may be all of the fall finishes. I'm trying to see if there's anything that fell back behind here. But I thank you for letting me show you all of those fall finishes. Oh, and this is a painting by my mom. Pumpkin painting she did in a class and passed on to me. So I'm going to count that as well. And I thank you for letting me share those. As I said, I have hopefully other things to show you in this video. If not, it's going to be a standalone. But thank you, Stephanie, for inviting me to share what's in my tote. And I hope that y'all are having a good fall time and Halloween. I hope you enjoyed all the finishes that I showed you from my tote. It's been 3 years that I've been stitching, and I'm pretty happy with all the things that I've been able to make. I feel like my home is coming together to be much more personal and sentimental to me with all the things that I've made. All the handmade elements make it not look like a Kirkland's or a Hobby Lobby, but like my house. So I hope you enjoyed that. And I will be filming a home tour pretty quickly. My dad's coming to visit this weekend, so I'll have the house cleaned up for him. And I hope to film a quick home tour to show you in the next little bit. The other update I wanted to share, I've been very conflicted about whether I wanted to share or not, but I've been pretty open in my channel with the struggles I've gone through, you know, being critically ill back in January and losing my mom and our broken engagement, the things that we've went through. It's been a really hard year, but this is actually a good thing. I said I had a health change, and a lot of you had said, I hope you're okay. I hope there's not a problem. We're praying that you're healing. And it's actually a change for the better, not for the worse. I went through a lot of deliberation, probably for 5 years with my doctor about trying to get my weight better under control. I do have a condition called PCOS, polycystic ovarian syndrome, that has affected me for about 25 years with lots of different problems. If you're familiar with that, for infertility being the main one, but just a lot of ups and downs with being able to stay on top of that and not having it progress into diabetes, which is my biggest concern and the direction that I was headed. So making a drastic intervention was, I believe, the lesser of the two. I did not want to deal with diabetes, so I did have gastric bypass surgery in August. The timing was kind of awful, but kind of unavoidable. I had been preparing for the surgery for 3 months, and my mom's illness was not, at the level it was when I had made all that preparation. And even at the end there, I only had like 9 days before I had to go and be with her, maybe 10. So I was still healing from the surgery. I wasn't technically supposed to drive to Tulsa when I drove all night to be with her that day. But it just worked out that way, and it was fine. She was so happy that I had made the steps to finally take some control of my health. And you'll hopefully be noticing as time goes on. I had a few comments, but I've lost almost 50 pounds since my surgery. That's to be expected because it is a very dramatic intervention, and it's not an easy way out. That was part of what I was concerned about, was judgment or criticism. And please don't leave any comments if you have judgment or criticism about it. I'm very sensitive about the topic, but I feel really good about the decision my doctor and I made, and I feel really, really good about the direction my health is headed. I have hope for the first time in a couple of decades. So I feel so much better, and so much hope for the future to not fall into those diseases that could definitely impact my life and the life of my family. So if you have any questions about my experience, I do have a few doctors that I'm watching on YouTube that have been very helpful with just health in general, not necessarily gastric bypass patients, but that is what they are specializing in. But just in the way that you eat, and the way that obesity a lot of times isn't caused from, or in my case, wasn't caused from a lot of overeating as it was just poor nutrition. So making a lot of changes, and just feeling very grateful that God was watching over the timing of that I was able to get the surgery, that my mom was able to know that I had, and to feel so proud and hopeful for me. And then just that the insurance worked out. And I have a lot of details that I'm still working out even now, but everything has gone exactly the way they had hoped, and I've become so much healthier in the last several months. So I actually started prepping for the surgery, so the weight loss came from not just after but before the surgery as well. And I hope to continue to get not skinny, that's not what I want, but just to a healthier weight where I don't feel like I'm so tired and my knees hurt and my feet hurt and all those things that come with carrying too much weight. So thank you for your understanding in that. Thank you for your encouragement. And I would be open, if you want to send me an email, I'll send that below. If you have a family member, or if you yourself have thought about it, it was not a rash decision that I made. It was done with a lot of prayer and discussion with my doctor. So that's my update. Thank you for sticking around to listen. If you were interested in what was going on, nothing bad this time for once. It's been such a hard year, but this was a bright spot and a way that I have had some hope for the future. So I appreciate you. I appreciate your friendship. The comments were so uplifting in my last video, all the condolences and all the kind, just coming alongside me and saying, I know what it's like, I understand. I am going to be stitching What Remains Is Love in December. I have plans not to do any new starts next year. I'll talk to you more about that later as we get closer to 2022. But Ginger Schultz and I are going to be stitching the What Remains Is Love, and I'll tell you more about that hashtag as we get closer. I think Chrissy might join us from Finally a Farm Girl as well. I hadn't heard for sure from her, but definitely Ginger and I will be stitching that piece. So if you have it and you want to join us, I think it's December 4th we're going to start. So fun things ahead, lots of secret stitching and lots of creativity that I'm looking forward to very much. And I look forward to seeing you again soon. As I say at the end of all my videos, Psalm 90 verse 17 says, may the favor of the Lord our God be upon us and establish the work of our hands. I'll talk to you soon.